Diverted money from legitimate national security programs into keeping this thing going and keeping it secret for a long time.
Reloading.
Scared of creating a mass hysteria, mass panic. People were scared. People did not know what it was, who was powering them, and that really fueled, I think, the CIA's concern that they had to squash it. There's the story that they're actually in cahoots with the aliens themselves. Or there's just the plain old simple idea that, well, they're not sharing the information about this because these are secret weapons.
Shot a cargo bot.
We're seeing it play out right now, right?
Reloading.
Now, what's really strange is that the New York
Extended
Times
energy mag here,
settled
level
how
4.
We're being housed in specially designed
Gotta hop
buildings
up here.
within
Double
Bigelow
tap trigger.
Aerospace.
She got bamboozled.
Fill in the blank to define whatever these metal alloys were, but the implications were there. There have been, a number of these reports over the years about crashes where bits and pieces of strange material were collected. Those reports that I've seen have varying degrees of credibility. But people that I know, the people who worked with these programs, think it's real. I know that there's a lot of talk about.
So is he still playing or what?
Special warehouse.
Oh.
I've never seen them. I've not been invited to see them. So at this stage, there's no evidence for me.
Calling upon. Got a hop up
That
here.
to me
Double tap
could be
trigger.
potentially the biggest aspect to this entire story. And yet the New York Times, they just drop that bombshell in one line and move on. Why would you do that? Let's just say that there were these mysterious metals retrieved from UFOs. Would you give them to the
Looks like only half the squads are left.
But number two, would you give them to a warehouse that anybody either off the lot
Contact with hostile.
in the realm of government secrecy?
Reloading. Enemy.
They're hitting me. Give him my shield to recharge.
Nice.
Getting shot at.
We did
He's on the stairs.
July of 2020.
Decoy deployed. She got bamboozled. Target's right in front of me.
Possession of possible aerospace.
Fire. Reloading.
My colleagues are privy to briefing squads that were actually used by
Contact with
the
target.
program to brief all kinds of people in which they reference anomalous aerial vehicles that have been retrieved. They call them crash retrievals. And they even
Recharging
use the word
shields.
off-world to describe that these are, possibly off-world vehicles.
Using grapple.
They could be any of the major players, Lockheed,
Contact.
Northrop.
Fire.
I have a feeling that
They're coming to kill us. There's another squad.
in fact, we're understanding a lot more of
Taking out more enemies. The enemies are shooting at me.
Reloading.
Throughout.
Opening fire. We got another squad here.
Contact with hostile. Fire.
That's right, in there, it's
Getting shot at.
crashes, bodies, back in 1947. No way to go.
Beginning ring countdown.
Is that
Getting shot at.
the narrative of the military has truth, and it's hiding it.
Shots
Some
fired at me.
degree, it's even less about
Give him my shield to recharge.
aliens and some extraterrestrial threat. It's that whatever it is,
I am taking fire, friends.
and they're
Give him my shield to recharge.
and that's the part that's really scary.
I am taking fire, friends.
Getting shot at.
I am taking some damage.
Well, you
Oh
know
no.
activated.
Shots fired at me.
The story
Battling the enemy.
completely dominates the UFO.
Hey, homie.
Are a very different story.
I am repairing myself.
Those are stories of people meeting.
Gotta hop up here.
aliens out in the
Double tap
field.
trigger. Getting shot
They
at.
look like us. They
Extended
typically
energy mag
speak
here.
our language
Level
where
3.
they speak to me
Reloading.
telepathically.
Reloading.
And they come here with this basic message.
Reloading.
I am taking
Warning
fire,
about
friends.
nuclear weapons. Stop killing each other. We don't
Enemy.
care about our play. I don't think we're afraid of
There it is, bro.
that much.
Making contact.
And when people
Good job, good job.
encounter them, they come back and they say, this was...
Hey now, another squad coming.
I hope I get to see them again.
Okay, bro.
I killed an enemy.
Let's talk about encounters. Because it's easy to take the first step.
Oh.
Reloading.
This guy without logical
Fired. Shots fired, and they're hitting me.
Well, it's not the area
Shots
that
fired, and they're hitting me.
I
Died. I guess that was the last one.
The angle that I was taking in my reporting was to try to get credibility for
minute.
this
Ring is
subject,
near.
and I knew that that was not the way to
Reloading.
The enemies are
Whether
shooting
it's true or
at us.
not,
There's
it
another
didn't
Variable
matter.
zoom optics here.
Because it was all
Mid-range.
true. That was not the first step in terms of getting people
Contact.
to accept this.
My wife and I were
Just
driving
watch
along
us,
Route
the old
3 when we saw what looked like a bright
Almost there.
star in the
Almost to the
heavens,
ring.
and surprisingly it began coming in my direction. I could see what I
Reloading.
thought was approximately
Evo shield here.
9 to
Level
11
3.
men looking down through
movement
the
in
series of
progress.
windows. Well,
Recharging
this was too much
shields.
for me, and I made a hasty retreat to the car, seeming to the right that they had
Using
seen
grapple.
me, they had
Care
seen us.
package
My
being
God, they're
delivered.
going to capture us.
Incoming.
I remember very, very vividly stories.
Zipline deployed.
Their story absolutely riveted me. I couldn't stop reading, even though I couldn't get to sleep properly every night as I was reading it.
These men started to come up to the car. They're taking me up to the yard.
1 sec. Healing up.
And then there's sort of in the middle of the room is a table. And they
Round 3. Beginning ring countdown.
Focus on the map. Outside the ring, we can damage greatly.
Just gotta patch myself up. Just gotta patch myself up.
Body shield here. Gotta hop up here. Select fire. Shield battery here. Using grapple.
I'm not writing it off. The problem with it is it's very hard to prove it.
I am taking fire, friends.
Opening fire.
Enemy taken down. Reloading. The enemies are shooting at me.
There are many other cases, some remarkable
Firing.
in the 50s and the 60s.
I hope my kids have contact with targets. Opening fire on the enemy. Taking
Recharging shield.
And then suddenly you hit the early 1980s and bam.
Getting shot at. Reloading.
I am taking fire, friends. I downed more than one.
Shots fired, and they're hitting me.
I am taking fire, friends.
Often perform sinister
Here I
medical
go.
experiments.
I've had
I am taking fire, friends.
My mother and I have both had
Reloading.
Percy County experiences. What's been happening is
Reloading my shield to recharge. I killed an enemy. I hope my kids saw that. I am repairing myself.
Creating a hybrid
Getting shot at.
humans and extraterrestrials.
Target right in front of me. Firing.
I killed an enemy.
Last guy just kind of, dropped.
And there, I think you have to start looking at things that are going on in popular culture, but things that are going on in society, technologically.
Warning.
And you
Ring
have a whole
movement in
host
progress.
Medkit here.
One of the things
We have the benefit.
very
We are
big
inside the
part
ring.
of public
You gotta hop up here.
starting in
Skull
the
piercer.
1960s
Using the
Care
decoy
package
escape.
being delivered.
is
Bless me with sight.
focused,
Give him my shields.
Here I go.
starting with basically Truman Capote's In Cold Blood. This case
battery
becomes
here.
sort of this one pivotal moment where people start to say, this could happen to anybody.
Here I go.
The Manson family killings become a kind of a flashpoint for talking about these things.
Medkit here.
It's also, by the way, the age of hijacking. When people talk about encounters in, say, the early 60s, The encounters overwhelmingly were outside,
Using
or
grapple.
outdoors, or in my car.
Grappling.
By the time
Round
we get into
4.
1990,
Beginning ring countdown.
say my encounters are
Focus on
in
the
my
neck.
bedroom.
Outside the ring.
Ring down
Here
the
I go.
station.
Grappling.
Whichever direction I'm facing. they
Using
will
grapple.
burn every time.
I'm not saying that people are just making things up. That's not my point. All of it seems to lie in this idea of a traumatic experience. And it's interesting
Shots
to me
fired, and they're hitting me.
that the trauma
Reloading.
start to
Yeah,
really
getting shot at.
about
Here I
experience.
go. Using grapple.
It's there already talked about. After World War II, it was awakened.
Decoy escape deployed.
It's being talked about in the 1970s.
There it was, bro. Double. Back-to-back champion. Nice. Double.
But it, of course, institutionalized in 1980 by the
Let's
diagnosis
go, man.
school manual with the invention of the post-traumatic stress disorder.
13. Look at him go.
And that's exactly when you get John.
GG's. GG's, boys.
I love books, so everywhere I go, I look for books, especially vintage books. In 2004, I was in
Jeez,
Texas,
boys.
and I picked up a book. I think it might have been in Larry McMurtry's town in Texas, where he runs a lot of bookshops. The whole town is devoted to Archer City, which became, Last Picture Show. So I picked up a book called Passport to the Cosmos,
Awesome.
which was a book by John Mack.
Level up to 10.
Passport
Beautiful.
to the Cosmos is Dr. Mack's newest book, quite simply. It's about
Level up
people
to
who claim
11.
they've been abducted
Beautiful.
by aliens.
You are the best, bro.
Harvard researcher.
Look at that.
The book Abduction.
We're almost at 12, bro.
Topic for
Beautiful.
It could ruin your career.
He was very eminent in his field and had a very distinguished career writing memoirs for Arabia. He's been written up many times in the New York Times. He was an expert in
Yes,
childhood
what about that?
development. He had written
Who's
a
that?
book on nightmares. He'd written a book on
Oh.
teenage suicide.
Ooh.
He had been on Oprah. He was,
Shoot.
famous, infamous in some circles at Harvard.
Jeez,
Was
this is
very,
a
very
guy,
well.
man.
What the source of this is,
Fire
what these
home.
beings are, where they come from, what creates this.
Good gameplay. Good gameplay. 2 back-to-backs. I like that.
But there's something
That was
profoundly
good to go.
It's a beautiful day. Let's make the most of it.
and real. John Mack is
Let's kill the sea
pivotal
turtles.
figure in this history.
This one's cool, too.
He has a kind
This
of
one's steady.
recognized
This is a big
legitimacy
project.
that most people
This one's
in the
steady.
UFO community
Megalodon.
not. So the idea is if someone like
Oh,
him
it's steady.
is interested in this topic, feels there's something
That one's
worthy,
cool. I'll be honest with you.
we've got to look at
This one's good just because the little...
Pistols to artillery. I can do it all. You call.
believe, I don't know of a better word, think it happens. Nothing in my 40 years of working with
I'll see you in the ring.
Uh-huh.
in spite of all the criticism that I make,
Dude, that was awesome, bro.
seriously, or of believing this really happened, there isn't a single case where anybody has found another explanation of what an individual has reported. The Harvard psychiatrist who's researching alien abduction, I thought he'd make a great story for the New York Times. I was thinking about calling him up for an interview.
Uh-huh.
And
Oh,
then,
there's Outlaw.
literally a few days later, I picked up the New York
That's
Times and I
classic
saw his
Outlaw.
obituary.
Super red Mirage.
I was shocked.
Oh, super red.
He was run over and killed by a hit-and-run drunk driver in London. I thought it was very strange. The internet was already well along, so there were suspicions and allegations by people that he'd been assassinated. There's no question, like a lot of famous people who have worked in the UFO area, whenever they die, particularly in
Super
the
red.
there are people who come forward and say,
My legs are ready to go. Some assembly required.
There and it begins.
Uh-huh.
It's a common kind of thing that you see take. The most common rumor was
There we
that
go.
another person named
Electric
John Mack
setups.
was run down at the same time. So that shows that John Mack was targeted. And it's not true. As far as I could determine, there was no other John Mack run over. This is happening on the heels of the popularity of the X-Files television show with a sort of burgeoning
So-
interest in alien
Yeah, but
culture.
I think
The early days of the web allowed
right there,
people
bro.
who have an interest in aliens and UFOs to find each other more easily, where conspiracy theories or myths can take hold and find purchase with a group of people that can spread it more widely.
It really was
No, no,
really
bro.
much more simple than that. He was run over and killed by a hit-and-run drunk driver in London. He looked the wrong way and died.
You ready or no? Oh, dude, he's level 28, bro. Oh,
Well, I mean, he was Christ, so he was an expert scholar of the human mind and psyche. And he found that these people were eminently normal. There was nothing to distinguish them except for the fact that they came to him telling these extraordinary experiences.
Went from the white light hitting me to then being paralyzed, being floated out of my room, going up into a spaceship, lying on a table.
I was aware that they were putting an instrument in my neck.
John Mack tells us in
shit, this is gonna be last game.
look at what he talked about first response. Not
3 words: win and win again. Yeah.
struck him as he looked forth as the people seemed legitimately
Strong work, Hepvin.
I got Bumblebee.
They were telling stories that were
Bumblebee the one.
though these people had never met one another.
They would hear that another person had had the same experience. They would become very much disturbed because it meant they couldn't dismiss it as a dream. They couldn't dismiss it
I'll
as
go
their
with
kind of
Outlaw.
mental illness or fantasy. And that, to a psychiatrist, at least to this psychiatrist, was very powerful. It was a broad cross-section of humanity. Men, women, blue-collar people, professionals,
This is your
psychiatrists,
champion.
also doctors,
Oh, are you kidding me? Dude,
and children as young as 2
Wow.
years old who would tell
pure
stories
champion, bro.
and put them up into the sky. And he realized
I feel like champion is in the voice.
citing stories from books they had read or movies they had seen. They were 2 years old. They were not mentally ill. He was convinced of that.
Let's go over here.
That was his feeling. They were not delusional.
Let's
They were not
explore this way.
deluded. They were not looking for publicity. On the contrary, they were horrified by what they think had happened to them. They were traumatized, almost to the point of shaking and crying when they revealed these
They even jump with us?
sessions that he had with them. He didn't communicate anything to you about why you were
Yeah.
taken back to the ship.
Let's explore this way.
Basically, he could not find any other explanation other than what the people said had happened.
Medkit here.
In these cases, these people
Shield
have
battery
been
here.
examined by myself. They've been tested psychologically. They are of above
Optics here.
average intelligence.
Mid-range.
They are sound mind. They've been shown as a superior mental functioning by the testers. So there
Lockdown
is
shield
not
here.
indication
Level
of
3.
any kind of psychiatric condition that's going to
Round 1. Beginning ring countdown.
They would
Got
rather
inside
be
the light ammo here.
or a form of mental illness than that this is something real because it's so shattering to their
Optics
notion
here,
of reality.
mid-range.
If you look through John Mack's book, you see these people have these contact experiences. There was always some type of incredible event,
Scanning the area.
and then they understood it to be a real thing. There are experiences from hundreds of years ago that look similar to what people experience today.
Variable zoom optics here. Long range.
One of the best examples of that has to be Teresa of Avila, who is a doctor of the church, and she was an Italian
I'm
nun
going in.
the 1600s.
Medkit here.
She had
Faster,
this
faster.
experience that is very well represented in Western
Shield
art,
battery here.
and it's represented in statues and paintings.
I'm going in.
And
Scanning
it's
the area.
experience where
Fíjate,
if you
another
look at
squad.
it, you would see her in kind of ecstasy, and you see this
Reloading.
angel. There's a very
I'm
famous
going in.
statue by Bernini in Rome where there's an angel carrying this dart. And, you know, it looks like arrows, right? You got arrows with the dart who's going to get you and, you know, you're going to fall in love.
Gotta hop up
But
here.
if you actually
Double tap
see
trigger.
her report of it, it looks nothing like
All
her
Father, give me sight.
She says, this is not a normal angel, but usually if I see an angel, it's just imagined to, you know, something in my head. But this thing's actually real, right? This thing's like fleshy. It's right
Taking
there.
a moment to recharge my shields.
And it's short. You know, it's 3 feet. fiery. It's all on fire, and it has this prong, and it thrusts the prong into my bowels.
Shield battery here.
You see this time and time again in history with people who have these experiences and sightings, what are called contact experiences. And then what happens is that there is an interpretive framework around
Shield battery here.
that the church then declares as what happened. The interpretation then gets done after the
Contact
experience.
hostile.
That's what's called religion. And then it's represented. Like you can say that possible culture back then were painting.
Oh, that's
and
got a
that
key.
Shield battery here.
Battling the enemy.
has her
Reloading.
event, and it
There
gets
is another squad. They are attacking.
right? It becomes something completely different
Put down the
than what she
hostile.
actually wrote about.
Reloading.
We decide we're only going to look at these parts because we can only deal with those parts.
Battling the enemy. I'm taking fire.
Throwing jump pad.
I'm taking fire.
Matches
Battling the enemy.
and
Morale is down. Took out the hostile. Healing my wounds.
thesis. I could start to question their
Warning. Ring
their
movement in
cosmology
progress.
is what he called it.
We are
Their
inside the
reality.
ring.
Extend
Make
I
it here.
started to believe
Drop shield battery here. Must
embrace
go.
Care
their
package being
experience
delivered.
as something that challenges me.
I bet that care package has some sweet gear for us.
That is some kind
Medkit
of
here.
entities, beings, intelligences are entering
Recharging
our
my
world and
shields.
affecting hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people according to polls, then this is something really worth looking at. So that's what I've been trying to do, is get people at least to look at it, think about it.
To me, that's the challenge of these encounter stories. They really confront this idea of belief.
Bless me with sight.
Once you kind of get hit in the face with this and there's a connection you can make to it where you just realize it's too big to turn away from.
Shotgun bolt here.
They can
Level
just
3.
grab you. That's what it feels like.
I am blood
I'm the same way, you know, so I understand it.
Scan the area.
I never went to formal
Medkit
school.
here.
Actually, I went to Burma and I was documenting a lot of human rights abuses in Burma in the 90s, basically.
Scan the area.
And when I
Marking our
came back,
surroundings.
I was invited to go on a public radio show. And then I started working with the producer of that show, who was really interested in what
Scanning
I had.
the area.
And I was eventually hired to work at this radio station.
Reloading.
Were you at all interested in human rights?
I was curious, but no more than your average person. I mean, I never, ever would have imagined that I would ever be professionally involved. What started the whole thing was I was sent a report in 1999 from a colleague in France called the Cometa Report. It was a 90-page study on UFO data by a group of very distinguished
Hit the
people in
ejector
France.
seat.
Alright, we're down to 50%
Admirals,
kids?
police
Yeah.
chiefs, scientists, engineers. They were only looking at official cases,
Battery
pilot
here.
cases, military cases. Then they spent 3 years studying all these official cases, and they came out with this 90-page study, which basically said that the best hypothesis for all this data they observed was that we were being visited by extraterrestrial
Scanning
vehicles.
the area.
And I was just absolutely fascinated by it. I thought this is a massively huge story. This is the first time I went out on my own, pitched the story, and it was published in the...
Let's go over here.
That was sort of what launched me on this journey. And from that moment on, I was like, hooked.
I'm not a UFO guy. It wasn't my thing. I was chasing the mob in those days, but this got my attention. I was hooked on it.
There was a huge outpouring of excitement from the UFO community because I don't think a journalist had ever taken it seriously enough to publish a long story in a major publication like the Boston Globe.
Suddenly, my phone starts
Bless me
ringing
with
off.
sight.
People are calling, they're giving me tips about UFOs, and I realized that this topic touched the pulse of the public in a way that I'd never considered before.
I started going to some conferences so I would meet members of the UFO community. And then I was actually introduced to Bud Hopkins.
Jump pad out.
Bud Hopkins, the guy who already in the early 80s had become quite famous, the evidence suggests, beyond any doubt. that we're being visited by some
Father,
kind
give
of
me
some form of
sight.
intelligence which is higher than ours, and some kind of technology which is higher than ours. We keep it at arm's length conveniently, but it does upset more and more people as they see the evidence for it.
Bud Hopkins was a very well-known artist before any of this came into his life. He was an abstract expressionist painter and sculptor. The reason this whole thing started for him was because he had a sighting himself.
I was so convinced that the Air Force had said they were balloons or something or other, I never knew what, and I accepted that. But then when we saw this thing flying around, I was very aware that, okay, there's something up there that has not been explained.
He saw a dish-shaped object in the sky, and it turns out other people had seen the same thing. And then these
Enemy real close. Hey, amigos. This dude's not with us.
Alternator here.
The
She
guy
got
in Florida
bamboozled.
started talking about this landing of a UFO that had happened in New Jersey.
I'm going in.
And
Bless
he
me
said that
with
there had
sight.
been
They're shooting
beams that
at
had
me.
come out, there were marks on the ground, and he wrote about it in the Village
Reloading.
Voice, a paper in New York City. And it took
Scanning
off.
the area.
And he just got so many letters from people who said, I've seen things
Charge
like
battle
this.
stabilizer here.
And I could feel deliberately certain details.
Body
about
shield here.
UFO
Level
color
4. She got bamboozled.
Because I wanted to,
Reloading.
I was convinced that there were other witnesses, and I wanted to have some way of checking their veracity. And in fact, we got something like 7 or 8 other witnesses. And so I knew, all right, these things are flying around. He is a meeting John Mack.
Bad news, I'm down.
To some of these
I'm going in.
I handed him 20 unloaded letters that I had not looked at myself, not read from people who were writing that they felt they'd had experiences. And I said, John, you open these letters, you read them. Then he called me
getting shot at.
and I was astonished by this. But Hopkins freed himself.
Well, I've never seen hers.
He was an artist, and as he said, nobody
What is
cares
that?
what an artist is. But John Mack made people think twice about some of the subjects. Mack was interested in the idea that
Oh,
one
shit,
of the tokens of the experience.
Found an extended energy mag here. Level 3.
John made it. He decided the story to us so much. He promoted the story because of the
Hit the ejector seat.
Round
When they
2.
talk about
Beginning
going
ring
native,
countdown.
It does seem to me what any good treatment professional, any therapist would do. You try to put yourself in the position
Respawn beacon here.
in a sympathetic way,
Med kits here.
even maybe empathetic way, of looking at the problem of the people you're treating.
Bro, use a different gun, dude.
Faster, faster, faster. Healing.
Someone says going native. Now look at Max when he was first famous, which was writing a book about C.E. Moore. Probably the most famous non-native account.
Reloading.
He had won a Pulitzer Prize, the biography of Lawrence of Arabia. John Mack did identify with Lawrence, the person who had a conflict between his inner life, very intellectual, and his outer life, obviously mobilizing Arab tribesmen against the Ottoman Empire. A very action-filled life.
Oh, good try. Good try.
He said many times, John Mack, that he identified with his struggle.
I didn't kill anybody, bro.
He tried to emulate Lawrence's methods because Lawrence was a master statesman, too. Very politically savvy. John Mack was in similar circumstances. So established, was interested in, aliens and even as we try to shrink the phenomenon.
Bro.
Where, as far as I can
I'll
tell,
see you in the ring.
so we're going to have to stretch our notions just a little.
John really has a lot to say. Given his position at Harvard, and all of that.
First of all,
Cool, bro.
really don't train with
We're at 16? Oh. Let's go, man. Let's crack this game. You know it.
Spend their lives writing skilled paper
My legs are ready to go. Some assembly required.
Wow.
Harvard and doing an investigation into research practices. In the end, he is continuing his career.
I'll see you in the ring.
Degree unlocked. What?
Part of that history.
Yeah, you did.
That whenever an institution is recognized as respected, whenever
Cool.
they grant
Cool. Anyhow,
some sort
take care.
of